this TikToker, her name's Michaela. One day, she and her boyfriend Adam are on a road trip together, and they're passing through Alabama. And they're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and suddenly, they see a woman on the side of the road, and she's flagging them down. She needs help, and they pull over. So this woman, let's call her Yaz. And Yaz asks them for jumper cables. Her car is apparently broken down back at her campsite a little further into the woods. And Adam's like a super nice guy, so he's like, of course we'll help. So Yaz leads them further back into the woods, and they see her car with the hood already popped open. Now before Adam gets out of his van, he reaches into the back and he grabs his pew-pew and he tucks it into his waistband, just in case. So they try jumping Jazz's car, and it is not working. And they keep trying, and they keep trying for over an hour. And by this time, Michaela is ready to leave. And she's like, okay, this is not working. Is there anything else we can help you with? And suddenly, Yaz is like, yes, you can put your hands up. And she pulls out a pew-pew. So Michaela and Adam are like, what the fuck? While Yaz forces them to empty their pockets. She's robbing them. And she takes Michaela's phone and she demands her banking account info. Now, it seems like Yaz is nervous, like maybe she hasn't done this a lot. Because suddenly, out of nowhere, she lowers her pew-pew and is like, I'm just playing, y'all. And the moment she lets her guard down, Adam pulls out his firearm and he's like, get on the fucking ground. But Yaz doesn't get on the ground. Instead, she starts fumbling around with her pew-pew, but apparently she's never actually used one before and it suddenly goes off and fires into the ground. This shot spooks Adam, and so Adam starts shooting back, hitting Yaz in the stomach. Then she starts shooting back at him, now they're shooting at each other. And Adam hits her 4 times, and she's down. Now it seems like it might be over, but then Adam suddenly says, I'm shot, and he falls to the ground, because one of Yaz's bullets got him in the back. So Michaela gets her phone back, and she calls 911. But they're so far out into the woods, it's gonna take at least 30 minutes for anyone to get there. Meanwhile, Yaz tries to run away, but she can't because at least one of those shots she took in the leg. So she just randomly starts calling out, Crystal, Crystal, help me! Now who the hell is Crystal? Now that is when another strange woman just suddenly emerges from the woods. This woman, Crystal. And Crystal starts circling around them, trying to assess the situation. And finally, she looks at Yaz and is like, what do you want me to do? Then she runs back into the woods. Now, eventually, paramedics arrive, but unfortunately, it's too late for Adam. He ultimately doesn't make it. So they take Yaz away on a stretcher, and police talk to Michaela about what happened. And she tells them the whole story, and she mentions there was this other woman, Crystal, who appeared out of the woods and then suddenly disappeared. So police spread out, and they start looking for Crystal. Now, they get about a half mile into the woods, and they spot a group of tents together. Kind of looks like a base camp. And standing by one of these tents is Crystal. So police see her, and they're like, get on the ground. And Crystal does. But not a moment later, a 5-year-old kid runs out from one of the tents with a loaded shotgun pointed at police. And police are like, whoa there, kid, put that down. But the kid doesn't put it down. He clings to it. And he walks up until he's next to Crystal, who's still on the ground. And it turns out Crystal is the kid's mom. But that's not even the weirdest part about all this. The weirdest part about all of this, the tents in the middle of the woods, Yaz, Crystal, the kid with the shotgun, they are all allegedly part of some spiritual group called the University of Cosmic Intelligence, aka a cult. And the leader of this alleged cult is this guy, Rashad, who used to make a lot of TikToks preaching his culty nonsense until his account got banned and he went to prison recently for being a P3do. I'm not kidding. So supposedly, they're all in a cult following the teachings of that guy. And they've been living in the woods, off the grid, and they've run out of resources, so they come up with this plan to pretend their car's broken down and rob whoever tries to stop and help them. Anyway, police arrest Crystal, and they eventually arrest Yaz in the hospital. Here's Crystal's mugshot, here's Yaz's. They go to trial, they get convicted. Yaz is sentenced to 35 years in prison for unaliving Adam, but Crystal is actually sentenced to life, because apparently she was the mastermind behind the whole robbery. And by the way, Michaela has a TikTok page, and she talks all about this. She's actually pretty great. Shout out to Alabama.
Adam had his gun on him the whole time because he said this is how people get robbed. So I was just waiting for him to use it.
A Florida woman now sharing the story of how helping a stranded driver in the Talladega forest Sunday led to a shootout in the woods. Her boyfriend dead and 2 women now charged with murder. Hello, everyone. The Clay County Sheriff's Office now says the suspects appear to have camped in the Talladega forest.
Authorities say in the camp, they also found a 5-year-old boy who charged them armed with a shotgun. ABC 3340's Stephen Quinn spoke tonight with Michaela Paulus, whose boyfriend was killed during the robbery attempt. And Stephen Paulus says that she found herself at one point alone in the woods with her boyfriend's killer.
Brenda, Michaela Paulus is back in Florida tonight with her family. Her boyfriend, Adam Simji, and her were set to begin a new chapter in college together next week. Now, as for the woman who she says killed her boyfriend, Michaela says she said everything she needed to in those woods. Michaela Paulus and Adam Simji's road trip was meant to celebrate the beginning of their new journey together at the University of Central Florida. It ended in bloodshed. Sunday started with a trip to Mount Cheaha, where they found Yasmin Hyder seemingly stranded on the side of the road. Fate then seemed to intervene.
He had just bought this huge battery pack and made sure that we charged it the night before.
Michaela is also the daughter of a mechanic.
I even called my dad and we watched YouTube videos and stuff to try and fix her car, but she, at the end, when nothing could be done, she pulled out a gun and told us to walk into the woods.
Hyder told them to drop their phones. She asked for banking passwords, but Michaela knew something she didn't.
Adam had his gun on him the whole time because he said this is how people get robbed, so I was just waiting for him to use it.
She described what happened next.
Her guard dropped after she had asked for all the banking passwords and stuff, and Adam pulled out his gun and told her to get on the ground. And that's when she started messing around with her gun. It jammed once, but they both shot at each other, and she was shot a few times, and he was shot only once.
Michaela found her phone and called 911. Adam was bleeding, so she used her shirt to desperately try to stop it. He never woke up.
He literally was like an angel on earth already. Everyone that met him loved him. He was always making jokes and being goofy.
It took nearly 30 minutes for paramedics to arrive. Michaela says she found herself alone in the woods with the woman who killed her boyfriend of 4 years, the man she loved, the man she lived with. So what did she tell her?
We would have given you food and money. I already told her, like, she didn't have to shoot. I think I've said everything I need to say to her until we go to court.
Now, during all of this, Paulus came to the realization that a second woman, Crystal Pinkins, was also there. She's been charged with murder along with Hines, and she was also found at the camp along with her 5-year-old son, who Brenda described was armed with a shotgun when police arrived. Now, as for Michaela, she is back in Florida, and she tells me she's leaning on friends and family to get through this week. She's also putting off beginning her master's work at Central Florida, which she was supposed to begin Monday alongside her boyfriend.
In my garden, oh, black roses in my garden. To keep and care it, you've got to water it. To keep and care it, you've got to water it. I've been traveling all over this world, yeah. I never see a black rose in no other garden.